How can you find the area of an irregular shape? Think about this question during the lesson. A garden has the irregular shape as shown. What is the area of the garden? Let's find out. You can find the area of an irregular shape by separating it into familiar shapes and then adding the areas of those shapes. What geometric shapes are familiar to you? Some familiar shapes include rectangles, squares, and triangles. What might it mean when a shape is irregular?
Those that are not as familiar, those that are not those shapes.
A shape may be irregular if it is uneven. What is an example of an irregular shape? A room that isn't a square is one example of an irregular shape. To find the area of the garden, separate the shape into two rectangles. How does separating the shape into two rectangles help you find the area of the garden?
Okay, now before we go any further, I want to show you the dotted line right here. This is how they chose to separate it. But you could also decide maybe I want to separate it like this and put my dashed line right here. Either way is fine. Either way, I'm going to have two rectangles. If I divide it here, I know that this line must be 4 because this right here is 4. Okay? If I divide it here, I know that this line must be 5 because this line is 5. Either way, it does not matter.
Separating the shape into two rectangles makes it easier to find the area of the separate rectangles and then add the areas together. What is the formula for finding the area of any rectangle?
Bella, what is it? Length times width.
The formula for finding the area of any rectangle is area equals length times width. Use the formula to find the area of each rectangle.
Okay, so rectangle A, length, and this is where some people get confused. They'll say 10. Why is it not 10? Claire?
Because they split it up, so B is part of that square. So part A is not really 10 there.
You're right. They divided that. The 10, sorry. 10 is for this whole thing. Okay? So do not use 10. We only want this much here, which is 6. Notice that this is 6. In this rectangle, this side here is equal or congruent to this side here, which is 4. 6 plus 4 equals 10. Okay? So even, for example, if I didn't know that this was 4, if it gave me no measurement there, I could still figure out what it was because I know that this side is equal or congruent to this side. And if I know that this whole thing is 10 and that this is 6, then this must be 4 because 6 plus 4 is 10. You may have to do a little bit of work there for some of them.
What is the area of rectangle A?
Okay, so A, length times width is what here, Brendan? 6 times 5, which is, Brendan? 30 yards square. Remember, squared for area. Volume is cubed.
The area of rectangle A is 30 square yards. What is the area of rectangle B?
What times what? Length times width? Those measurements are going to be what, Hope?
4 times 8.
Yes, my length is 4. My width, is 8. My width is 4. This 3 is nothing that we really need to know. Okay, it's extra. But if you look, this is 3, and this here is 5. 3 plus 5 equals 8, which is what this side is, okay? And so we're going to take 4 times 8, Hope, which is 32 yards squared.
The area of rectangle B is 32 square yards.
Now we add them up.
You should add to find the total.
62.
The area of the garden is 62 square yards. Why is the area of the garden measured in square yards? The area of the garden is measured in square yards because area is the number of squares that cover a region. Is this the only way to separate the shape into two rectangles? Explain.
All right, we already talked about that because I wasn't sure if they would say that or not. So that's why I said it earlier on. But again, when it says square yards, our measurement here, our unit is yards. So that means, because this is flat, 2D, okay, if we had a square that was 1 yard by 1 yard by 1 yard by 1 yard, there would be 62 of them that would fit into this space.
No, the dotted line could be drawn horizontally to form two rectangles that still cover the same area.
Hello? I don't know. Michael? Now you know that sometimes irregular shapes can be separated into familiar shapes in order to find the area.
That's too happy.
Do I sound like that?
Now you know that sometimes irregular shapes can be separated into familiar shapes in order to find the area.
Who do you think sounds better? All right, guided practice. Number 1, find the area of the irregular shape. Now, I am okay with you either 1, I am okay with you writing in your book with a pencil very faintly, that means lightly, and then very gently, not so hard that you're ripping off the color, okay, but very gently erasing it off. That's fine, okay? Now, find the area of the irregular shape. So I'm looking at this thing, and there are 2 ways we could divide it. You always look to divide it at a corner, okay? So I could divide it, we could divide it right here. Or we could divide it right here and divide it horizontally to have one super long rectangle and one smaller rectangle. It doesn't matter. Which way would you like to do this, Grant Rose? Do you want to do it the first way or this way? This way, okay? So, I like how the video separated them into an A and a B, okay? So, I'm going to put A here and B for the bottom one. When you write in your book, you don't have to put A, B, just keep it track of it in your head. But on your notebook, you should do surface area, and then I'm going to put A here, surface area, B here. Just like the video, you'll have 2 work spots. So we're working with A first. Surface area equals length times width. Surface area equals, what is my length and width of rectangle A? Kirsten, what is my length? Okay, it's one of my measurements. Technically, we would probably call it the width, Kirsten, okay? So the long side is the length, so it is 16 times our width, which is 4. Surface area equals, now I do not know mentally what 16 times 4 is, so I'm going to come over here and work it out. 6 times 4 is 24, carry the 2. 1 times 4 is 4, 5, 6. 64. Surface area equals 64 centimeters squared. Done with that one. Now on to B. Surface area equals length times width. Surface area equals, what are my dimensions of rectangle B? Devin. Devin.
That's
11 times 3. This area right here, this line right here, the arrow shows us 3. This right here is 5. Okay, so 3. So surface area equals 11 times 3. Surface area equals 33 centimeters squared. And now I need to add for the whole thing. Surface area equals 64 plus 33. Surface area equals 97 centimeters squared.
Can we erase it now? We have to erase it.
In your book, your lines, yeah. Not your work, but not your work on your paper. I mean, if you wrote in your book, in your textbook. Now, you do not have to do this, but I just want to prove to you if we decided to do it this way. A and B, surface area of A would be 11 times 7, which would be 77 centimeters squared. Surface area of B, it's telling me that this thing right here is 5, so it would be 5 times 4, which is 20. So that would be 97 centimeters squared. Same answer, either way. On to the next one. Whoa! We can do this, my friends. What? We accept the challenge. Here we go. Boys and girls. That's enough. Find the volume of the irregular solid. Okay, once again, we find the corner here. We can either divide it like this, or we can divide it like this.
I go the other one.
Either way, it doesn't matter. I'm going to stick with this one here. I have figure A and figure B. We're finding volume. Eli, please remind us volume formula of a rectangular prism is
The length times
times,
height.
yes, length times width times height. Length times width is only area. Length times width times height is volume. You also have it, I believe, on that sheet that I gave you of formulas, that I-step sheet. Okay? All right. So let's look at A. So volume of A, volume of figure B. Volume equals length times width times height. Volume equals, what are my dimensions of A? My length, my width, my height. Again, if you say, Mrs. Temple, I'm not really for sure which one's the length, I'm not really sure which one's the width or the height, that's okay. As long as you know your three numbers, it doesn't matter what order you put them in, you're still going to get the correct answer. Dylan Allen, for figure A, what are my numbers I'm going to multiply?
758.
Length is 7, times width is 5, times height is 8. Excellent job, Dylan. Volume equals 7 times 5 is 35 times 8, I don't know, gotta work it out. 35 times 8, 8 times 5 is 40, carry your 4. 3 times 8 is 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. 280, this is volume, so it's cubed, inches cubed. I'm running out of time. All right, so on my screenshot. Okay, so we have volume of B. Volume equals length times width times height. Volume equals my length, oh, not 15. This whole thing is 15, but my figure is right here. 10 times the width is, looks like 7 and 2. It may not be 10 times 7 times 2. Volume equals 10 times 7 is 70, times 2 is 140 inches. Volume is always cubed. Now to find my volume of this figure,